I'm Anita Raddatz. I'm the Director of Sanpete County Extension, and I have with me the expert, Vernon Parent, from Washington County as a 4-H agent. And we are going today to do a show about interviewing. And we're talking about interviewing in the broadest sense. Because during your lifetime, you're going to have to get interviewed for positions, you're going to have to get interviewed for a job, and you might even have to be interviewed within the job that you have at different times. I know I do every year when I come up for my review.
Performance appraisal, yes.
Yes. So those are all really important times within in your life that you're probably going to have to need to know these skills. Now, within 4-H, there are 4 national opportunities that these 4-Hers will be interviewed for, and we're going to go over those specifically in a different video. So let's talk about being interviewed. We both were interviewed when we got our jobs.
Yes. Interviewing is a very scary thing sometimes, but it's one of those skills that we all have to develop and learn. I really am glad that 4-H has competition and contests where we have to do interviews. It practices and lets you get ready for those real life experiences. And that's what 4-H is all about, is developing those life skills. So let's start out from the beginning of what interviews are all about. Interviews are about selling yourself. You know, sometimes we're not very good at tooting our own horn. We like other people to acknowledge how good we are, and we don't necessarily like to say, hey, I'm so good.
That's right.
But you know what? That's what an interview is. You are there to sell yourself. To begin with, there's a lot of things that you need to do for an interview. You need to do your homework. Now, I know we say, oh, that's for school. But you know what? When it goes for an interview, you need to do your homework. Whether it's for a job. If it's for a job at a local retail place, you need to go on the internet and find out about that retail place, find out what their product is they're selling, find out what their management structure is like, find out those things so you know about that organization. Same thing's true for any of the 4-H competitions. You need to know your background. You need to get online. You need to find out what your subject matter is, what you're interviewing for, what you're trying to accomplish. All of those things. You need to do your homework. The next thing you need to do is you need to practice. Practice. We all have to practice. Do it with your agent. Do it with your family. Do it with your friends. Do it with your teen council. You need to practice interviewing. The only way you get good at interviews is to do it. And so you just have to go forward and do those things. Now, another thing that's really, really important is time management. I don't know how many of you have an interview and say, oh, I have plenty of time. Well, that oftentimes isn't the case.
No.
Whether it's for a job or for a 4-H activity, you need to know where you're supposed to be. You need to actually have visited the site before you actually need to be there, just so you know how long it takes you to get there. Because all you need to do is end up stressed and late, and it'll just kill your chances for an interview. So that leads to the next thing. It's always good to be early. 10 to 15 minutes before. It allows you to sit and contemplate, relax, think about something else, think about what you want to talk about in the interview, how you want to sell yourself. That thing is really important. You don't want to get there too early, because if you're too early, it sends the wrong impression, and all it'll do is stress you out while you think about it too much. So 10 to 15 minutes before the interview is a perfect amount of time. You want to look the part. I don't care if you're going to interview to be a fishmonger, which is somebody who sells fish. You want to be dressed nice. You want to present yourself as a professional. So, in most cases, that's going to be a suit and tie or a nice dress or a blouse or a pantsuit or something like that that's going to be professionally accepted. You want to come across as well kept, neat, and orderly, because employers or those that are going to be judging you for competition are going to look for somebody who can present themselves well, who are organized, well ordered. And if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of my business? Or how are you going to take care of what we want you to represent? So taking care of yourself, presenting yourself well is very, very critical for any kind of interview. Girls, get your hair out of your face. Let us see you. It's very, very important. Next thing is you want to make sure that you bring the appropriate paperwork, whether it's a resume, whether it is things you need to bring for references, or for 4-H competitions. If you're supposed to bring special paperwork for that, make sure you have all the paperwork in order. These are all things you need to do before the interview even starts. If not, your ship is sunk already. And last of all, make sure that you have a little bit of information about the people who are interviewing you. If it's a job you're interviewing for, find out who the manager is that's going to be interviewing you. It's always good to know their name. If it's judges and you don't know who the judges are, you can find out a little information about them. Nothing wrong with that, because it gives you an edge. Somebody who has done their homework will come across smarter, stronger, and more well prepared than somebody who has not.
And with the internet these days, it's easier to find out what mission statements are of businesses, who the managers are, and if you have that business within the community or within a certain area around where you live, go and visit it like the customer, so that you can see what they do, how they dress there, and try to emulate that. But nowadays with the internet, most people expect you to know how to go out there and find that kind of information.
Very important.
Even if it's for a 4-H competition, to find out who the judges are, who's in charge of the competition. Then you can call them, you can talk to them, and you always have access to us at the Extension office itself.
Very much so. Be prepared. Practice, practice, practice. All right. So what do you do when you get to the interview? It's always a nervous thing when people first come in. What are they supposed to do? So what is some general things that is acceptable and you should be doing? First thing you should do is always go in, and if opportunity permits, shake hands. Shake hands with each of the interviewees. Introduce yourself, your name. Try to get their name. Now, if you're going to have more than one judge or more than one person who's going to be interviewing you, sometimes it's hard to remember everyone's name. That's okay. It's going to happen. But at least try to at least remember one or two names. And during the interview process, you want to use that name so that they know that you remember that. That's going to show something that's very key and critical for these people who are going to be interviewing you, whether they're judges or future bosses. Remember a name, at least one. Okay? Another thing is, don't sit down until they do. The worst thing you can do is come into an interview and say, "Hey, how's it going?" and plop down in the chair.
The chair you think you're supposed to plop down
that's really
into.
bad. Yes. Make sure they'll oftentimes please be seated, and then you sit yourself down when they sit down. It's always respectable. You're showing respect to them, and it's just the proper thing to do. Otherwise, you've lost it. You want to make sure that when you're sitting in the proper way. You don't want to be like this. Body language is huge when it comes to interviews.
They just put a little X right there by your name already.
Anita, what am I saying right now?
That you're just here. You don't really care, and he's more important than I am.
Yes.
No, I'm the interviewer. Is the most important person.
Totally, that's the truth. But what I'm saying now is I'm slumping my chair. I don't care. This is a protective shield of force, you cannot hurt me, okay? That's what you're saying. You want to be sitting on the edge of your chair. Girls, it's very appropriate to have your legs together, be sitting in a proper way, sitting off to the side. And girls, you sit differently from guys. Guys, do not sit there with your legs spread and sitting like this, okay? You want to be interested. If you're sitting backwards, it's a lack of interest, or you're trying to distance yourself between you and the person you're interviewing with. If you're leaning forward, that shows interest and a desire to be with that person. That's engaging. You want to make sure that your body language is selling yourself as much as your words and your appearance. Your body language can kill you if you do it the wrong way.
Especially when it's their first impression of you. You walk in and do that the wrong way. And it's just resume interview etiquette. Is to be there and look like you're interested. And when you're sitting forward like this, you're going, I really want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you're going to ask me.